You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 181 episodes. Holy moly. We're doing quite well. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Volt, Shield, we got some things to address right away, don't we?
Welcome to the softest show in sports, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We've got some big things to address here tonight as well. I am more than excited to get into this because we got some people out there that say we need to stop being so soft, apparently, among other things, over the comments that we made on previous shows talking about certain teams and certain fandoms as well. Didn't really appreciate what we had to say when giving our honest opinion of what we think about said teams to begin with. So I'm more than excited about this show here tonight.
Me too, and you know, before we get into that side of the business, there, we have a fun show tonight. Voldy,
we do. We're
going to respond to more specifically the Lions and Chiefs fans here. I will get to that very soon. After that, we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Congratulations to Chris Finch and his staff. They are going to be coaching. they really wanted to make that happen. We'll talk more about that here later on, but we're really looking forward to talking about that. And the Twins have made some moves. They spent money. Hey! Hey, they spent money. Carlossantana. And another relief pitcher in the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's looking strong, not going to lie. So we'll be talking about that. But, Voldy, why don't you tell us what we have going on after that? We got somebody that's at Super Bowl 58 Radio Row. Who do we got?
Right. Yeah, so we got a buddy of mine. His name is Matt Fowler. So we're going to have way too many Matts on the show to begin with here tonight, or at least for a good portion of the program. A buddy of mine that I used to work with as well in the radio world. He is in Las Vegas. He was there on Monday night with the opening of the Super Bowl, getting all the who's who, getting all the information leading up to game day. Huge Niners fan as well. So we're going to get the breakdown of what that's looking up. Yeah. Maybe the first of a couple appearances here in a given week for him too. So we got a lot that's going to be coming up with him here. And we're just hoping we can keep the conversation under about 30, 45 minutes, because that would be, we got a lot of things we got to get to for ARA. So
we do. And speaking of which, we have ARA obviously this week, and we got some good ones to go with that. And then not only that, but we got shield shoutouts as always.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, Voldy, I say we just hit it right off the bat. Let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for Tater Tot Hot Take. And, usually we start off with a story, but honestly, we're starting off with something a little bit different. So as you guys know, we all like to post on the socials medias our takes. And obviously, we want to get some entertainment value out of it. And obviously, I think we did a great job, and shout out to our guys at the Victorious P.O.D. who did a fantastic job last week. We'll have them on again soon. They were a pleasure to have. But there were a series of posts that we had, Voldy, this past week. And quite frankly, I think we rattled some cages, pissed off some, not only Lions fans, but Chiefs fans as well. So let's start off with our first one. Obviously, this is kind of pertaining to the lower third. And the lower thirds that we usually have are pretty accurate and, aren't far off, right? And apparently this, and we're going to, we're not going to put out names because, again, we don't want to get sued. So there's that. So we'll call this guy Bob. So Bob. Comments on our Facebooks, and you guys can chime in too. Let us know what your thoughts as well after we get going with this. Lions will always lion, huh? You guys are effing idiots. Lioned all the way to the division title in the NFC Championship game. And he spelled game wrong, so we got that going for us.
Yahtzee!
Not a bunch of frauds like Minnesota was last year when they had a chance to do something.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, there's a lot to be said with that comment. Voldy, I'm not entirely saying what he said was completely off. I'm not necessarily saying that what he said is absurd. But the one thing that I don't think both of us will tolerate, if you come out and insult us like right off the bat. So the one thing that I don't like about this is calling us effing idiots. Well, how are we idiots? Because A, you're looking at the lower third, and B, you're not watching the whole video.
Yep.
The video was about C.J. Gardner-Johnson waving bye to the fans in the second quarter.
Wrong
first
context.
Half, second quarter. They're up by 2 touchdowns, and you're waving goodbye to the fans? You think they're going to really leave if they're down 2 touchdowns? What the hell are you thinking? So I'm just like, well, first of all, if you're going to insult us, at least get your facts straight. And the Vikings, let's compare. Let's compare for a second here. How many times have the Vikings made the playoffs and have actually won some playoff games? Actually, the Vikings. When was the last time, before this year, the last time the Lions won a playoff game, Voldy? Was it 1992 or something like that?
Yep.
So
92, yep.
You're comparing two franchises where obviously the Vikings franchise is more rich than yours. So for you to talk crap about that and say, well, last year they had a chance to do something. The Vikings defense, if you were watching, and you obviously weren't, the Vikings defense were the worst in the league. They were the worst in the league. This was bound to happen. Ed Donatel got Daniel Jones his contract from this year. So don't come to me and say, oh, the Vikings had a chance to do something. It was good. It was bound to fail from the start. Even if they beat New York, who would they play? The Eagles? The Eagles were on fire. They would have smushed us.
Wolf.
So you're comparing two teams that completely different. Oh, by the way, if the Vikings had a quarterback, and granted, a backup quarterback almost beat the Lions this year. Mm-hmm. I bet you any money, if this guy, Kirk O'Chains was back there, it's quite possible we would have swept you guys. And
yes.
Maybe have been
1,000%
the first seed.
Yes.
Maybe the first, second seed.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, I don't want to say that we're completely, utterly just don't know what we're talking about, and we're just letting you, say what you need to say with that. But listen, you're not looking at the full context, and he took it very seriously. I mean, this is something that people got to understand. Like, they say Lions get a line. Well, they did. They were up 24-7. 24-7. And then in the second half, they lay an egg because what happens? Dan Campbell's ego got in the way of you guys going to the Super Bowl. You had every chance to win that game, and you blew it because you're the Lions. It's in your DNA. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it over to you in a second, but he said you're jealous of apparently we said, why so serious? And, maybe he deleted his comments. Yeah.
Oh, no!
He deleted his comments.
Loser!
So anyway, we sent him the why so serious thing, right? The Joker, all that stuff. And he said, why you guys, full of ass? And it's like, we're not jealous. He thinks that we were jealous of the Lions, and we said, we're not jealous of the Lions. And I said what I just said here. C.J. Gardner-Johnson waving goodbye to the fans, blew a 24-7 lead. Then your coach going to get out of his zone, like I just said before. And the Lions, I said, had a great season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, Shield. They had a great season. They won the NFC North. Good for you. Take it from a bunch of Minnesota fans that had great seasons and ended in heartbreak. We know. So I was just trying to, he goes, well, definitely not your buddy. See? We did that on purpose, just to see, if that would trigger him. And it obviously triggered him the way we called him buddy. So, joke's on him. Guess I was the only dumb one enough to take the bait. Figured after the season was over, you could do something productive like ice fishing. Okay? I mean, if you want to go ice fish, go ahead, bruh. Sure would beat the hell out of podcasting about how the Lions lost the NFC Championship game. And then there's no need to respond to that because, granted, we won that argument. So, claps on.
Hell of a lot more productive than sitting on your ass in a frozen lake. I'll say that much.
That's very true. So, Voldy, that wasn't the only post that we had. Our second post was you going off on Traviskelce, which rightfully so. Yeah. And you obviously had your opinion on that. What do you have to say about those haters that commented about that? And apparently we're too soft, so go ahead.
Yeah, talking about these guys as well that commented that Justin Tucker was on the wrong end of the field and how he fooled around and found out and stuff like that. And this one guy as well, he said, let me break it down for you. Suppose your neighbor started dumping his leaves or snow or garbage on your doorstep. First things first, this game was in Baltimore. Kansas City was the road team. Yeah. Just be happy that they got let on the field in the first place. I'm pretty sure the Baltimore Ravens would have said, now you guys got to go warm up out in the parking lot in the tailgate area. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Both teams got to share the field, at least in that regard. But you're telling me of all the things in that whole situation, Traviskelce taking the balls, taking the helmet, chucking them through the end zone or whatever, or just throwing them through the end zone, and then Patrick Mahomes kicking the kicking tee away from Tucker as well. You cannot move 3 feet to your left.
3.
And how am I the soft one and out of all of this as well for these fine gentlemen that posted as well? All of them not under the age of 50. We're just going to go a generalized number here on this as well, talking about how I'm soft and need to get a grip. At least somebody commented LOL thinking it was funny, but ultimately saying that Tucker was on the wrong side of the field and how he should have moved for Mahomes and all of them. Last time I checked as well, now, again, going back to the original comment saying, like, he was there first. He should have gotten equal play or right. You can't move 3 feet to your goddamn left so that way you can focus on your thing without being a dick to somebody else who's trying to do their job as well. Kickers have to kick from both ends of the field, obviously, for field conditions, wind conditions as well, how that's going to play from each hash as well. So Justin Tucker was well within the right, of course, being also the host and the home team. He was ultimately in the right of being there as well. And yes, ultimately, the Ravens found out. They effed around. They found out. They lost the game as well. But at the same time, don't be a dick. Like, literally, it just comes down to be one. Just don't be a dick about it. And these guys that commented as well, kind of a dick move on their part. But hey, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for the views. Thanks for the clicks. Tune in on Sunday for the Super Bowl show, too. We want to hear from you.
I want to hear what you guys have to say. Oh, there's a guy that was, that has a name that is similar to Jerry. Remember our Zona hater, Terry? Is this the same guy?
Yep.
Do we know?
I don't know.
Do we have any indication?
Maybe.
So he got that going for us. But I do want to throw a shout out because there was one positive thing who was very nice about this. Let's call her. Let's go with Claire. Let's go with that. I was mad when I saw that C.J. Gardner-Johnson waving goodbye to the fans.
Yep.
Very premature.
There you go.
Claps out to you.
A realist out of the bunch.
You looked at the clip and you agreed with us. I mean, this is a knock on C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, that's all we're saying here. So, all right. With that being said, Voldy, let's move on. Let's see if they tune in on our Super Bowl special on Sunday at 2 p.m. Make sure you check it out. And we will have our document, or form, I should say, for you guys to fill out to win MinneZona merch. And that might be a hat of some sort.
Ooh.
Just saying. We'll reveal that later. All right. Let's start with our Timberwolves. The Wolves are, they're sort of kind of leading the West. They lost last night to they lost to the Bulls in OT last night. But the good news is that Chris Finch and his staff will be coaching the West for this All-Star game. So congratulations to Finchy. I know that the players and a lot of other people are trying to make that happen and whatnot. So Shield, what do you think about this? Obviously, if we did ARA, stamp of approval, what are your thoughts on Finchy getting this?
If you would have told me at the start of the season the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to be leading the West into the All-Star break and their head coach was going to be the head coach for the West team as well, I would have said, you need to give me whatever you're smoking because that stuff is awesome because you are completely out in left field. To think that was going to happen in the first place, I would have never thought. This is fantastic. I know I've been saying it for the last year plus, of course, with Finch coming in when he came in midway through a season. It's going to be a lot of adjustments, but now that you've got the team bought in, of course, last year was a bit of a bump in the road with getting Gobert's situation figured out and how he's going to really gel with the squad too. Now we're seeing it all really start to come together a little bit. Things kind of come together. Obviously, Ant is still the scoring threat that he is. Cat's picking his play up as of late. Gobert is starting to look a little bit more like that defensive player of the year that we've seen in the past as well. A lot of things starting to come together for this team, and ultimately going into the All-Star break, leading the West is a nice feather in the cap as well. But ultimately, that big goal still well out in front of them.
Absolutely, and I I look at this and say, I mean, it's much deserved, and they need a guy that has really really worked with this core group for I think 3-4 years already now. That's insane to think about. So congrats to Finchy and everything like that, but obviously, like you said, the end goal is to get them go far in the playoffs. I'm not gonna say NBA Finals victory or anything like that.
Heyo.
But I mean, they've got good players, and Ant's starting to come into his own. I mean, each game, within each game. Now, the thing that I'm concerned about, real quick, and then we'll move on to our Twins signings. They're giving up leads to teams that they should be blowing out, like the Bulls last night. You can't necessarily say that they don't have what it like they need to win those games when they have 20-point leads, 15-point leads going in a half, whatever. They need to finish those games. They need to be able to finish those games. And Ant addressed it last night. He said, we're still kind of figuring it out. And their last 3 games, by the way, Voldy, the Bucks, the there was I had it too. Oh, the Clippers, who are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now too. Yep. So there's they could go on. We obviously don't want this to happen. Go on a 3-game losing streak into the All-Star break,
right.
But they do well against good teams though too. So I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to lose those games. I think they can win those games, but I don't see Giannis taking off or Damian Lillard not being able to play, rest, or whatever. So, I mean, it'll be a tough battle, to say the least, these next few games. So, Voldy, we did talk before the show. Alex Zappa wants to get on. He wants to talk about
he does.
these Wolves because Zappa's got a few things for us, and he needs to give updates and things about how the Wolves have kind of turned it around a little bit. So we're looking forward to having Zappa on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So congratulations to Finchy, the Wolves. Let's keep it rolling. And NBA All-Star Game next week. So
let's go.
Be on the lookout. You probably won't watch the whole thing, but you'll watch a couple things. Just see Finchy on the sideline. Ant's going to be there. Cat's going to be there. So, hey, let's go. So another Minnesota team making some moves. The Minnesota Twins have landed Carlos Santana. Start off here. Carlos Santana. Welcome to the show. Wow. Voldy, I swear, I don't know why, but somehow, some way, guys that are Twins killers ending up being on the Twins. And that is Carlos Santana. Now, he was on Cleveland for a little bit, and then I think he moved around.
Bunch of teams.
Mariners, I think, at one point, and then he was with
Mariners. I think
Brewers.
he was the Brewers recently. Philly. He was in Pittsburgh for a hot second. I mean, the guy was everywhere. I mean, he's been a real suitcase player for a number of years now at this point, and still guys and teams are picking him up, man. He's been all over the place. And when he originally came up with Cleveland all those years ago as a catcher, first baseman, DH guy, I mean, he was a Twins killer, hitting from both sides of the plate there, and definitely still has the prowess of being a power hitter too, but on the backside of his playing years as well. So he's going to be a nice platoon player at that first base spot that still has a couple of question marks what we're going to do there in the future too. What we can do, but at least have a veteran presence and a little bit of thump in the lineup too is something that's going to be nice to have with Carlos Santana.
So adding with Santana, you're adding more power to this lineup, which you can't get enough of, right? Royce Lewis obviously has been fantastic. Buxton, hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, Byron Buxton can stay healthy. Carlos Correa coming off a really good postseason, things like that. Now you add another bat to that list. And who was the guy we had last year that was supposed to kind of be that power hitter? What was his name?
Gallo?
Gallo, yes.
Joey Gallo.
He had a couple good games, and then he just $150 or something, hitting $150. Good Lord.
Classic Joey Gallo.
But I like
Classic
the
Joe
signing
Gallo.
with Santana. Now, here's the question. Voldy, we've said this on the show a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
The Twins seem to get guys that are way past their prime 5 years out. I mean, are we,
Yep.
and let me ask this, and I ask this of the zoners too, are we concerned about if he's still got it? Voldy, is he going to make somewhat of an impact here, or is he going to be he was good 5 years ago? What do you got?
I'm looking at it that way. I mean, if he can find the fountain of youth here in Minnesota the same way that Nelson Cruz did, I have no problem with keeping him in the lineup, and especially whether it be at the DH or that first base spot for him too, for whatever's going to work best for the lineup. But right now, I'm saying it's not looking too hot right now. But again, weirder things have happened. Nelson Cruz was on the back end of his career, and he ended up having a career resurgence while in Minnesota. So I would be more than comfortable hoping that's going to be the cause here for the future.
Fingers crossed. We're going to need some power, and I don't know. I wouldn't say he's going to have as big as an impact as Nelson Cruz,
Right.
But I think he's still got something. I think he's got something.
Let's hope.
Real quick, and then we do have our guest that'll be joining us here.
Waiting in the winds.
Waiting
right
in the
now.
winds.
Yes.
So we will have him on in a second. But let's get to Jayjackson. 1 year deal, $1.3 million. This
Not
is
bad.
such a PO.D deal, Voldy. It really is a PO.D deal. But granted,
Yep.
we'll see how it goes. Or no, I guess it includes a 2025 club option for $3 million.
All right.
$200K buyout. Okay, well, I guess. So
Not
what do
bad.
we know about Jayjackson? Is this going to help bolster the bullpen here? What do you think?
Well, you look at how the offseason has really come with the Twins, especially being hurt in the rotation like they have, with losing guys like Kenta and, Molly and
Sonny
even the
Gray.
likes of Sonny Gray, too. They're going to have to really lean on their bullpen, I feel like, as well. But I feel like this is going to be a good move for them, a good middle-of-the-road reliever that they can have there, maybe have a good run for them. So I think this was a good, safe move, especially getting the 1 year deal.
1 year deal, obviously you have that option, to see if, things work out, and obviously, hopefully it does. And now the Twins have kind of added some more, and obviously the Bally, is the Bally sports deal done? I mean, are we getting the Twins on Bally now, or is it,
Last time I
ads-
checked that they are, yeah, they're
Okay,
they're gonna run through at least this season. So we'll see beyond that what happens.
I guess we'll have to ask Zappa where things are at with that too, since
Yeah.
it's Bally. So we'll check in with Zap, see where we're at with it.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, a couple signings that is kind of the wait and see deal. So hey, we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do coming up this season. So Santana, hopefully you can be a in division killer / get it done against a lot of these teams. He's got power, man. I mean, he's good. I've seen a lot of good things from Carlos Santana. So, all right, Voldy, with that being said, that's going to do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. And shout out to all the Chiefs and Lions fans. We're here. You want to
Yes,
talk?
sir. Bring
Hit
it
us up
on.
in the chat. Hit us up in the chat. We're happy to do that for you. So, with that being said, we do have a special guest waiting in the wings here.
Impatiently waiting. He's been
Impatiently.
texting me the last
Okay. Well,
5-10 minutes. Like, let's
hey.
get this guy on.
Hey, let's get this guy on. It's gonna be kind of like a different thing. We're gonna give a second here because obviously we got to get things set up. So
Yep.
we're gonna play some virtues for a second here, and then we'll get Matt on here. So it is.
All right.
We're gonna go to the Temple of Wisdom for a second, and then we'll be back.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's Virtues.
All right. That being said, we are ready to go. We have our guest ready
Get
as
him
well.
on.
So we got him in the green room.
Okay.
He comes right back in. We're good to go. I think I can get him in though. So come on. Got him.
Pause for dramatic effect here.
Yeah, if
and
he
was
just
facing.
all he's got to do is just hit it. There should be a button for him to go right on in. So
Yeah, should be. Let's hope.
says he's
Hopefully
in the green
technology is his
room.
friend here. Come on, buddy. Come on, Fowler. Help me out here. Let's see, you just text
It's all
me.
good.
Nope.
So as we tend to getting him on, shouldn't take too long. Ah, here we go. Now
There he
we go.
is.
now
Hey,
we're talking.
there he is, my guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Hey, we got
Yes,
you.
sir.
We got you, my
Loud and
friend.
clear, Fowler.
Voldy, who do we got? Let us know.
So this is one of my old co-workers from R&J Broadcasting Incorporated for a solid 9-10 months. What a ride we had back in central Minnesota.
We
Matt
did.
Fowler,
We did.
straight from Las Vegas himself. Nose of the grindstone, Super Bowl week. My man is rolling right now. Fowler, how the hell are you, bud?
I'm good, man. How the hell are you?
Staying busy, man. Dad life never slows down like crazy. Doing this as well, getting the views, getting the clicks, and getting the hate all at the same time.
Hey, man, you did the smart thing, man. You actually got a job that gives you a paycheck.
Yeah, this is true. This is true as well. But you know, hey, you know what? I'll take it, I guess. I'll take it, you know.
It's good to
Oh,
see you,
man.
man.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, you keep texting, you keep calling me every once in a while. You know, you throw out a couple memes at me every once in a while in the messages too. But for those that are not aware of course, I did bring up old coworkers as well at work and everything too. Tell us, Matt Fowler, who you are, first off.
Well, so don't judge me too harshly because Voldy's my friend, so don't hold that against me. But I embarked on this journey to try to do the broadcasting thing really since I was 15 years old, and tried to get in any way I could. Ended up graduating San Francisco State. Ended up getting the call from Minnesota. Went there, met Voldy and Ben. Remember Benny? Benny's doing well. I talk to Benny all the time.
Yes, sir.
And we would do games. Oh my God, we had so much. I totaled my car one night after a game. Remember that, man? I think I hit your car once.
Yes, you did hit my old car once. Yes, it was crazy. It was ridiculous. Minnesota weather got the best of us there.
Yeah, and so one thing led to another. Then COVID happened, and
COVID happened. Yep.
And I was doing a JUCO tournament, and I had to play Dan Rather because I was literally I'm serious.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
no, seriously. No, yeah, you got to tell this story. It's awesome.
Yeah, please
So,
do. Yeah.
I was the last sporting event in the United States before they shut everything down. The only sporting event going on was this JUCO tournament, and all the cancellations for the NBA and the NFL were, or not the NFL, but the NBA and the NCAA were happening, and it would come up on my phone, and I would have to say, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA has suspended the season, and it was crazy though. I mean, it was absolutely nuts, and so then I realized that the government's giving out an extra $4,000 a month to sit on your butt and do nothing. And I was making a lot less than that at R&J Broadcasting. So I left. And then I did the TV thing for a while. I was up in Humboldt. I covered a lot of medicinal products. Let's just say that up there. And family show. It's all good. Hey, some people need that. So, so then we, then I took a government job, worked for the government for a couple of years. And then the great Davebenz called me and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing with the Tony Bruno Sports Network. You want to be the producer?" And I said, "What does that entail?" And he says, "Well, it entails in, 6 weeks, we're going to be at Radio Row at the Super Bowl." And so I said yes. I jumped ship from the government job, and here I am. It's crazy.
And I remember you texted me about leaving that job and get to go jump on with Dave Benz and get your feet. We just dive head first right into it. And I said, "Look, you're probably not going to get many more chances of this. So I would say you're single, you're ready to mingle. Let's go ahead and have a hell of a time. At that point, I think you were single. Things are different nowadays, but one thing you did bring up
True.
there, name drop, of course, probably the first of many name drops here with this conversation. Dave Benz, how the hell that relationship come to be?
Dave Benz and I was his intern at NBC Sports Bay Area back in 2011, when he was, before he got the Minnesota gig, and we were hanging out in the newsroom. There were a lot of people that I saw on Radio Row today. A lot of people got their, I don't want to say their start, because, obviously if you're anchoring the news, or anchoring sports in the Bay Area, and that time it was really cool because we had our own little version of ESPN basically for the Bay Area. It was called Sportsnet Central, and we had talk shows. Chronicle Live, San Francisco Chronicle sponsored it. We'd have guests come on, and so a lot of people hosted it. Dave hosted it, and we became friends. And then, completely unrelated to him getting the Minnesota Timberwolves gig, I got the gig in Minnesota, and he actually told me, he goes, "Hey man, you're moving to a place that is very cold and unforgiving." And
you learn that very quick.
Yeah, and he said, and this is so true, and I didn't know what he meant. I was like, Dave, did you take something before you called me? Like, what like, what are you talking about? He goes, bro, listen, if you get depressed, you call me, man. And I'm like, what the hell are you? What are you talking about? And then I realized when we're sitting there, and it's a Saturday in February, and it's negative 35 degrees outside, and you can't do anything. Yep, and so yeah, and so I'll give you a funny Dave Benz story. He probably wouldn't want this out on the air, but who cares? We're too deep into it, and we're on the internet, so let's go. So
let's do it.
So I believe I had told you about Ben's. Remember when I was still working for R&J, I went to that game where Ben's, it was the Warriors and the Timberwolves, and I took the day off to go to that gig, or to go to that game, and so I made sure to drive down there. I think the game was on a Saturday, and so I drove down there Friday and spent the night, and I spent the night at his house, and we're hanging out, we're throwing back some adult beverages. Now I got to do the I got to do the media thing. So I roll out early before he rolls out, because, and I figured I'll show up as early as I can, and whatever. And so I go to the game. I'm walking in. I got my credential. He calls me, and this is game times. When do the Timberwolves start? 7 p.m. over there? Usually 7 o'clock?
7:30.
Yeah. So I roll in. It's like 5:15, 5:30. Getting to the part where I don't know if the Wolves do an hour post game, or pre-game, or a half hour, but getting to the time where the broadcaster for the team should be in the building, right? And I'm sitting there, and of course it's not my fault, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's going on. So he calls me. He's like, "Bro, I just got out of the shower. I'm so late. Go." he says, go talk to Steve Kerr and tell me if he has anything interesting to say. And I was like, all right, bro. So I go to Steve Kerr's press conference, and Benz rolls in at the end of the press conference. His hair is still wet. He just and he, consummate professional, goes right into it. Steve Kerr gives him the bro hug, and then they're off, and he just does his broadcasting thing. But I look at him and I go, "Did we have one too many shots of something last night?" And he goes, "Maybe. I don't know." but listen, for anybody who wants to know, Dave Benz is the nicest man on the planet. Couldn't be a cooler dude. If any of you are fortunate enough to be able to meet him or just check out his stuff, he's really, really the best. Sure. And I had the same reaction when the unfortunate news came down about him. and the whole state of Minnesota was not happy about that. But anyway, that's a little bit of Dave Benz for you.
I love it.
Another connection you have as well. I mean, you've got Paulallen on speed dial apparently, and you reach out to him every once in a while. What's the latest conversations you've had with old PA too?
Latest conversation was I bounced it off of him about leaving the government job. I texted him, and he had lost his contacts from the, because I hadn't texted him a while, so he had lost his contacts. So I said, "Hey Matt, hey Paul, it's Matt Fowler. Here's the situation." And he texts back, and this is Sunday night before that Monday night football game. And so he texts back. So he texts back and he goes, "Oh, hey Matt, what's up? Listen, Monday night football is fast approaching, but just, send me an email and I'll let you know." And I'm like, "Oh, listen, dude, like you could have responded like Tuesday. I mean, I'm not that important, bro." But he's a nice one too. He actually FaceTimed me from Starbucks once. He's like, "Hey, I'm getting a latte. I'll call you back."
That's awesome. That's classic PA right there. Yeah. But let's get to the real conversation that we need to talk about. You are there, boots on the ground, Super Bowl week from Radio Row and everything. You were there. You were texting me actually opening night as well. What was that whole atmosphere like? Of course, you being a Niners fan too, you've got to have a little bit extra, a little extra oomph into it too. You've got a dog in this fight this year.
I do. Well, I do. And coincidentally, last time they were in, it was when I was working with you, Paul. And it's a rematch of the same game. And, they still should have won that game in 2019, by the way. I remember you sent me that meme from The Office, like the next morning where one of the guys comes in and he's just like knocking all this stuff over at work. And you're and,
that's good.
and so hang on, I'm getting way too comfortable with this conversation. Let me sit up for a second.
This is not the point of view. This is like some OnlyFans type point of views that we got going on right now.
There we go.
It's a family show, Fowler. There we go. Yeah,
there we go. That's better. So yeah, I mean, it was, in my opinion, they should have won that game. Garoppolo misses Emmanuel Sanders streaking down the center of the field. Right. Shanahan does not go for it at halftime to try to get up. Instead it stays at 10-10. And so we're looking for some redemption here. And a lot of those guys were rookies. And so you look at what's going on now, and they're out for blood. And honestly, Mahomes is Mahomes. And I mean, we'll get a little bit more into the analysis in a minute, but you want to know what opening night was like. So 20,000 people paid $30 to watch players talk.
It? Wow.
I mean, so, but I mean, like the NFL draft, right? Yeah. The NFL draft. It is the #1 rated show.
Right.
At that time, right? When it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It is men in suits shaking the commissioner's hand. Like, why is that good TV? It's not. But for some reason, NFL's king.
It is.
And I will say, gentlemen, I'll get to the experience in a second, but having the access that I do, so I walked into Allegiant Stadium and I walked out onto the field of Super Bowl 58. And it's one of those things. Now, believe me, I don't think under any circumstances, based on my current situation, that I've made it. But I did FaceTime my mom, and I said, "Hey, Mom, you want to see me score a touchdown?" And I walked from the 5-yard line into the end zone. Touchdown! Awesome. Just being there on the field, because I saw it from up top, because I went up to the media dining, had some steak, and
of course,
then came down, and And the 20,000 fans are turning. Now 20,000 is not, how much does it hold? 70,000, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So 20 is not 70, but obviously they're all screaming their heads off. So to hear that from the center of the field, it was it was amazing. And I'll let you take the lead, Paul, on the interviews that I got, but I was assigned a virtually impossible task, and I was able to get it done.
Yes. Yeah. You were texting me about that. Dave Benz made a bet with you to say you won't get a one-on-one interview with anybody. And who did you get in a one-on-one interview?
So, well, I called him afterwards, and I'll tell you how I got it in a second. But I called him afterwards, and he said, "How'd you do?" And I said, "Nah, not that great." And he said, "Who'd you get?" I got one from the Niners, one from the Chiefs, just like you wanted. And he goes, "Well, who was it?" And I go, "No, nobody big, just Traviskelce." And he goes, "What?" He goes, "You got Traviskelce?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Is that a big deal?" And he goes, "Who'd you get from the Niners?" I go, "Oh, this guy named Brock Purdy. I don't know."
No big deal.
No MBD.
So
easy.
So I will pull back the curtain slightly on this one. You can't tell now, but I have a little bit of trouble walking. And so some people can use that to their advantage. And I was able to do that because now we've all been in scrums and, press conferences or school board meetings or what, you stick the microphone up there and
Yep.
So that's difficult. I mean, I can do it, but the NFL people don't need to know that I can do that. So I shouldn't say that. Maybe they're watching. But I basically, I mean, it is difficult for me. So I went and I found somebody from the NFL and I said, "Hey, I'm a credential member of the media. I know I have the same access as everybody else, but it's really hard for me to get up there to get my soundbite." Now we're all fighting for the same soundbites. The first thing Mahomes says is what's going to be played on SportsCenter. But, what if I have a good question? I don't know, hypothetically. And so the guy says, "Well, who do you want?" And just to give you an idea of the setup here, they had pods with all the players going around about from the 10 to the 20-yard line was open for everybody. And then from the 20-yard line to the other 20-yard line, it was barricaded off through the center of the field. So you couldn't get anywhere near the center of the field. And they had the players in pods. And the media would go around, form a circle kind of around it, and then all, go up and stick the microphones up there. So I told the guy, and he says, "What sound bites you want?" I said, "I just want one from each team." He says, "Who do you want from the Chiefs?" And I said, Traviskelce or Patrick Mahomes. And I was expecting him to laugh at me. But because I mean, Baldy, you and I both know about media people, and I mean, by the way, what is your name, man? I'm sorry.
Same as you.
I haven't. Oh, Matt. Oh, well, good name.
Too many Matts.
Name, Matt.
Not enough.
I
Not
know.
enough Pauls on the
I was
show.
gonna after Voldy got your questions. I was gonna, but pleasure to meet you, Matt, as always. And,
Nice.
what do you got? Go ahead.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Matt. So I say Patrick Mahomes and Traviskelce, and he looks at me and he goes, "And you just need one soundbite from one of them, and then one soundbite from the Niners." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay." And so he brings me into the inner ring. And so now I'm walking, on the inside of the barricade, and he brings me right up to the podium where where Kelce is. And, there's nobody between me and Traviskelce. I'm literally sitting a foot from him.
Wow.
And so nobody gets that interview. I mean, technically, I guess it was still part of the scrum, but that's as close to a one-on-one interview as you can reasonably have. And and so I asked Travis, I said, "Are you getting used to this?" And he says, you can't get used to this. And I said, "Is it going to be better with your brother in the stands this time as opposed to, on the gridiron facing you?" And he said, that was special. And he said, "But, I'm going up against my brother and George Kittle this time, So
Tight end University.
Yeah, taught in university. There you go. And then the Purdy thing, the Purdy thing was really, really cool. And I actually
You didn't ask the Lee Harvey Oswald question, did you?
no.
Okay, just checking. We had to put
I'm
that
not-
out there just in case.
No.
Okay,
And there was a certain woman who I also didn't ask him about.
Good.
That he.
That
Yeah.
was going to be my question. So.
Yeah. So Purdy, so the Chiefs go back into the locker room. The 49ers come out. Same guy comes and gets me. And I told him Christian or Brock. And he said, okay. And so, I thought, and I totally would have understood. I mean, he was just going to give me Christian McCaffrey because,
right.
The quarterback's the quarterback. I mean, you just don't get that interview. And he's looking at they have those strips on the field, the cables, the TV cables that go underneath, and they have the big bumps there. Right. He was looking at that, and he thought that I would have a little bit of a difficult time maneuvering over that. And he looks to me and he goes, "Is Brock Purdy your preferred interview?" And I go, "Yeah, I think so." And he goes, awesome. "Oh, okay." And so he brings me over to Purdy, same deal, but this time Purdy turns to me, shakes my hand, "Hey, great to meet you," and answers my question. I give him a fist bump on the way out. I wanted so badly to be like, "Hey, I hope you get your ring." But what I told him was, I said, "You are literally the kid that wants to be an astronaut and then grows up to be the astronaut that goes to the moon." I mean, that is the analogy, because Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, and I told him, I said, "I know you're sick of hearing about this, but it just does not happen. 6th-round draft picks, 5th-round draft picks. Yeah, Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick. We know that the Shield loves Tom Brady. We know, but
it's true.
I mean, 6th-round draft, that's very uncommon, but it's not impossible. What Brock Purdy's doing is the definition of impossible, but it's clearly not because he's doing it. But anyway, so that was my opening night. So Benz owes me a steak because we figured out that because he was gonna get me, I think it was 10 sandwiches, and so I said, 10 sandwiches in Vegas at Subway, it's like $20 a sandwich, so that's $200, but I'll settle for a nice steak dinner.
There you go.
So that's what we got there, but that's how opening night was.
That's pretty awesome. I know we're going to get more coming up here Sunday with our Super Bowl special too. But there is one thing I just want to get your overall feeling, and take the media Matt out of it for a second. Niners fan Matt. Of course, we're in the same position you guys were, was it 4 years ago as well? Super Bowl as well. You talked about how this team, or a lot of the guys that are still on the team, were rookies at that point, or like very early in their careers. How do you feel about this matchup this go around against the Chiefs for your Niners?
I'll just be blunt about it, man. I mean, I kind of alluded to it. They're pissed. They are pissed.
I would be.
I mean, they had that game won. Not only did they have that game won, but they had the NFC Championship game won a couple of years later. And then you have talking heads like Joy Taylor that says after the game that Jimmy Garoppolo was the reason to blame for the NFC Championship loss. And I'm like, does Jimmy Garoppolo play linebacker or play on defense? Because last I checked, they're up by 10 in the fourth quarter. And, so yes, Jimmy threw in an interception at the end, but like they should have never been in that position in the first place. They want to get this ring. And this story, Garoppolo, the story is good. But this story, this is what tabloids and movies are made of. Speaking of movies, I'll just 10-second aside here. We can go more on Radio Row in a minute, but you know who I met today?
Who was that?
Vince Papale.
Really?
The Vince Papale from the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm walking up and Tony Bruno goes, "The great Vince Papale." So this is that territory. If Brock Purdy pulls this off, this is Hollywood movie stuff. And sports movies usually, even about true stories, they're usually cheesy, right? Right, Paul? I mean, they usually don't get it right. I mean, Moneyball was great, but even that was like, But I mean, this is big budget, Matt Damon or somebody maybe a little younger, but they can make Matt Damon younger.
They can.
I mean, yeah, it's what I mean. This is the stuff of true Hollywood endings. So we'll see. But yeah, I feel like this time, and last time the Niners were not favored in Vegas. Unbelievably, this time they are. Speaking of, we had the Caesars Sportsbook people. For those of you that may or may not wish to put a wager down or two, my girlfriend is glaring at me because I may or may not put a wager down. Well, I have actually. I've already got it in the bag because I put it down in week 6. I put it down in week 6 when they were not favored. So I see how to do all right. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that it's theirs for the taking, and I think that they're more mature. And, I mean, Vegas usually doesn't. I mean, obviously what Vegas says doesn't always happen. But last time they were 3-point underdogs, they lost by 11, but it really was 4. There was that garbage touchdown at the end. So, the fact that they're favored this time is significant. Although the Chiefs did beat both the Bills and the Ravens as underdogs, so you can never really,
Of course, we'll get your score prediction, how that's all going to happen coming up Sunday as well, if you're still going to be able to join us too. But Callahan, I know maybe you've got a couple of quick questions for our guests.
Actually,
here
we got a zoner question for you.
Ooh,
there, Matt.
Nice.
So Matt, we got Seymour. Our guy Seymour asking, hey Matt, how outrageously expensive has the food been in Vegas? What do you got?
Well, let's see. We had the interns go get us. Like I said, some Subway. I'd said it's $20 for a Subway sandwich. But we had 4 hot dogs, and a few Cokes, and I mean we're not even getting into adult beverages here. And this is, I mean, I think Mr. Tony Bruno pulled off a C note. I think it was $100, $100 for 4 hot dogs and 4 Cokes.
Wow.
Highway robbery right there.
Not cheap.
Not cheap at all. So here's my question. We're going to go back to the NFC Championship game versus the Lions.
Sure.
My question to you, Matt, is, I mean, we're under the firm belief on this show. We talked about it because we've had some Lions fans chime in on us and rip us a new one.
I think I know where you're going with this, and I'm ready for it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Did the Lions blow it, or did the 49ers actually, get it done? Would you say the 49ers won that game, or did you think the Lions blew it? What do you got?
All right. I will show humility because I will, see if your team always loses, but you're always supporting your team, that's not realistic. So I'm going to be real humble here. Listen, I'm going to get back to your question in a second, but let's go back for reference. Let's go back to 2016 or 2017. Paul, your favorite game ever, 28-3. 28-3. Okay.
Yes.
And I know Brady's the GOAT, and I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And he kicked the door open, but the door was welded shut except for a crack that Kyle Shanahan left.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's where I'm that's where I'm being realistic about maybe my team's a little bit weakness here, because if literally, I mean, he would have got crucified for it, but it wouldn't have mattered because it would have got him a ring. If they take 3 knees on the 32-yard line there, kick a field goal, go up by 11 with 5 minutes left, there is no Tom Brady comeback. There is no best comeback in Super Bowl history. There is no 7th Super Bowl for Tom Brady. It's because of the coaching. And we are in Vegas. So I'm going to give you an analogy. Dan Campbell. This dude. Thank you, Dan Campbell. Thank you. This dude is we've all played blackjack, right?
Sure.
Yep.
This dude is the guy at the blackjack table that splits tens and screws it up for everyone. What are you doing? I mean, see, so he left the door open, and then okay, by all rights, the Lions played great. in the first half. And to quote the immortal George Kittle and another viral sensation whose video is escaping me, but we have all seen it. They had us in the first half.
Not gonna lie. They had us in the first half.
So no, the thing there is the Lions played great, but the score of that game, the ending score of that game, well, to the detriment of some gamblers that had the Niners by 7, but the score should have been what it was right before they scored the garbage touchdown. The Niners should have won that game going away by 10 or 14 points. That should have been the score for the whole thing. And it wasn't, because the Lions played great and the Niners didn't play so well. But I'm sorry, Dan Campbell, what are you doing? Do you have the sounder,
right?
the soccer guy? What are we doing? I mean, that's that is. You kick the field goal, you go up 3 scores. Joe Montana is not coming back from that. Nope. I mean, Tom Brady, because of the time remaining, Tom Brady's not doing that either. You had the game in the bag, so I think the Niners did what they did in the second half, sure. But the reason is because the Lions gave them that momentum, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to learn from that. It's it's kind of like when you when you run the stoplight and you almost get hit, but you slam on the brakes just in time. That was close. I think the Niners are going to use that as fuel here, and they're going to say, okay, I mean, we got Spags defense to worry about, but we're not going to – we got to play our A game from first quarter to fourth quarter. We sign up for 60. We sign up for 60.
Yes, sir.
And, that's – I think that bad performance in the first half is going to help them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll see.
Love it.
We'll see. But, Shield, rapid fire.
All right, so with every guest we have on the show here, Fowler, we got to throw some rapid-fire questions at you. Give me your initial gut reaction to these questions. Starting off, time for another name drop. Who is the biggest celebrity contact you have in your phone right now?
Mike Breen.
Ooh, Mike Breen. I like that.
He's calling the game right now.
He is calling the game right now. Okay, where's the weirdest place that you have ran into a celebrity or athlete?
Weirdest place. Well, off the top of my head, I ran into Willie Mays in the airport in Las Vegas.
Wow.
That's a legend right there.
It is a legend. Got to switch the NBA here real quick. Golden State Warriors, your boys, are they winning the NBA title this year?
They could, but as currently constructed, I don't believe so.
Okay. Got to talk about a couple of baseball teams here for you. Bay Area, San Francisco Giants, over under 80 wins this season. 80 and a half, we'll say. 80 and a half.
That half is making me think. I'm going to go over, barely over.
Barely over. I like it. And probably don't have a lot of feelings about it, but we got to ask. Feelings on the Athletics leaving Oakland? Yay or nay?
There's a team in Oakland? What?
There was. Nobody's in Oakland anymore.
I don't care. I mean, these guys, they like, there's a famous sportscaster out here in the Bay Area. Shield, you should get this as a drop. There's this guy named Gary Radnich, if you've heard of him. And he would always say when a guest is going on too much about something, nobody cares. He would just say, nobody cares. and so just the organization has not cared about the fans. I mean, they traded away Yoenis Cespedes for John Lester. Hey, yeah, let's extrapolate that in the regular world. Hey, we're gonna fire 5 of our employees and hire this one dude that only comes to work once every 5 days.
Yep.
Like, does that make any logical sense?
Crazy.
No, but we're Oakland, and that's what we do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fowler, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. awesome job. Look forward to talking with you Sunday. You're going to be still boots on the ground in Vegas coming up here on Sunday as well. Again, we'll get your prediction then. Maybe we'll get a couple updates, couple wild stories from over the weekend as well, too, leading up to kickoff as well. But, buddy, have a hell of a week and look forward to, obviously feel free to keep texting me and, all the wild shenanigans you get yourself into, but keep your nose to that grindstone there, bud.
All right, man. And hey, I will tell you one other nugget as we go here. There are people at Radio Row. See, the Super Bowl obviously is not like any other event, and such. We all take pictures of our credentials and things for other small things. NBA, maybe regular season NFL. If you post a picture of your credential or you post a picture that has your credential in it, the NFL is not happy about that. So in all these pictures we've been taking, we have to take off our credentials and I was talking with Greg Papa today. He's the broadcaster for the San Francisco 49ers. And so we did that. We took some pictures and he, for a while, couldn't find his credential. He's like, where'd I put that thing? And I was like, Greg, is there a possibility that they're not going to let you in the stadium? But
that'd be awkward.
I think they'll let him in. Can you imagine Paul Allen, calling the NFC Championship game a few years ago? Yeah, Paul, sorry, we know who you are, but you don't have your credentials, so we can't let you into the booth.
Awkward.
Anyway, all right, guys. Hey, happy to come on. I will be on your show for Super Bowl Sunday. I'll be here.
Yes,
there's a 2% chance that I'll actually go to the game, but that's about 2% more than most of the world. So, So, we'll see. Otherwise, I'll just be watching it with a few adult beverages. And by the end, I'll either be very depressed and inebriated or very happy and inebriated. So either way, it's going to be a good time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Works.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
Fowler, appreciate you, bud. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
All right, guys. Go Niners.
We'll see ya.
Bang, bang. Niner gang.
Bang, bang.
Let's go.
All right, thanks to Matt Fowler. That was fun. A lot to be said with the Niners and this the big game here on Sunday. Yeah. So we will see him on Sunday. And again, Super Bowl special. You know the deal. Is it our fourth annual now? Do we know?
I believe fourth. Yes, because we did the first one during COVID. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll have and obviously, Matt will definitely put in. I assume we know who he's taking. So, with that being said, too. So, but without further ado, Voldy, we got some air A's to get through. So let's get through those, and we'll get things rolling. So let's get it going. What's up? Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, somebody that hasn't been having a good couple of weeks that's in the Super Bowl as well, Kadariustoney, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, took to social media Monday night and said that his profanity-filled rant on social media wasn't directed at his current hirer or current employer, that being the Kansas City Chiefs, but the former team talking the New York Giants that drafted him into the NFL. Of course, after the AFC Championship game, Tony said, "I'm not hurt, none of that," quoted as saying as he his comments were interpreted as him saying that he didn't have the hip or ankle injuries the Chiefs had listed him on the weekly injury report, but he then went to go say that, of course, the video that was released saying that it was chopped up and made it seem like I was attacking, doing what I loved most as well. Look, Kadariustoney's had a rough second half of the season. Of course, that touchdown that would have ultimately tied or won the game against the Bills had to be called back because he was offsides, and of course, just him not catching the football as well. And there's been a lot of issues that Kadariustoney has been thrown out as of late. Some more being put out there, quoted as saying as well, "I've never attacked the Chiefs, never said anything about the Chiefs. Who I was referring to was the Giants fans and the people in my comments, my comment box, not even on my live recording. So you wouldn't even know they were there. I was referring to them, which I shouldn't have. I just wanted to go out there. I just wanted to get my message across as far as my injury, but I shouldn't have did that at the end of the day. I'm a man and I can accept my mistakes, and I accept my wins. I'm just moving on right now, and I'm just trying to go out and win, quote, being the Super Bowl as well. Looking at the comments that have all taken place for, of course, Kadariustoney, who ultimately did make a huge play in the Super Bowl last year against the Eagles too. Yeah. Is it absurd or proved? The track record that Kadarius has had, of course, this year, even the bumps in the road that he's had throughout the season, is it absurd or approved? Will Kadariustoney be on the Chiefs roster past Super Bowl 58?
He will not be. And it's not because of the whole Giants thing. I just think it's because there have been mistakes that he's made, and he's manned up to it and said, I've made those mistakes, the drops, the offsides thing, you name it. But I also feel like this whole situation with him, they can't function if they go into playing against a good team. Let's just say, obviously they've, figured it out in these playoffs because they've been able to use Traviskelce, because Traviskelce was like the last, few games in the regular season, he's almost non-existent. But all of a sudden now in the playoffs, he's woken up and they're able to get him the ball. Now, Rashee Rice, I think, has kind of that budding wide receiver that they needed. But they don't. Tony was kind of supposed to be what Rashee Rice is right now. So I think he's got to let it go about the Giants fans. I mean, look, this has been a long time. I mean, it's been a long time since he's been traded, over to Kansas City, and he's complaining about them. All the people in my comments and blah, 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 rant. It's like, dude, just let it go. I mean, good Lord. They're going to keep, they're going to keep doing it if you keep addressing it. And I don't think he understands that. But I think it's absurd. I don't think he's going to be on the Chiefs roster because, is it because of the mistake? Sure. But, I mean, has he really gotten the ball at all? Not really either. So he's not really involved in the offense. So he will not be a Chief coming next year. He'll probably, we'll see if he gets a ring on Sunday, and they might just go look another direction. But, yeah, it's absurd. He won't be on the Chiefs roster, I feel like, next year. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I feel like the wide receiver situation that they've had throughout this whole season, even last year's team as well, they've been struggling to find any consistency out of the receiver position. I mean, they found something with Rashee Rice out of this year. That's been a real nice piece to have for them coming into this year too, and obviously what he's done throughout the season into the postseason too. Kadariustoney's probably more trouble than what it's worth. He could potentially be a trade piece as well coming up for the draft. See what you can get. Maybe a couple draft picks out of him. Maybe another young prospect as well. Another young receiver out of somebody else's system too, out of somebody else's team. Yeah, just everything that he has gone through with, obviously all the comments, but I'm glad that he owned up to it and said, yeah, I made the mistakes. Now I'm going to, turn my head and go and focus on winning another title here. I can certainly applaud him for that, but the mistakes on the field are starting to mount up to a point. It's like, we really traded for this guy. I mean, this is a real head scratcher here. I could definitely see him getting traded leading up to the draft, maybe during the offseason as well, before training camp. Yeah, I think he's going to be off the roster before the start of next season for sure. So it's definitely got my stamp of approval.
It's just, there's a lot going on with him. I don't understand it, but at the same time, the Chiefs have got to add another playmaker, I feel like, because Kelce's not getting any younger either. So
right,
it'll be an interesting offseason for them. Nonetheless, if they win or lose, So, all right, next one, Volde.
So, of course, with the NFL's Super Bowl taking place, we're already looking forward to the 2024 season coming up here as well. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles are slated to be one of the teams that will host the NFL's first regular season game in Brazil coming up to open up the season coming up in September 6th. That'll be taking place. That was announced by Commissioner Roger Goodell in the State of the NFL media conference from Super Bowl week as well, talking about that. So this will be the first Friday game on opening weekend in more than 50 years. Of course, we did have the Black Friday game this past year, of course, right after Thanksgiving. And it looks like that since it's going to be a home game, there's a multitude of opponents that it could be for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, you've got the 3 divisional opponents with the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders. But you also throw in 2 matchups against the Browns, Falcons, Panthers, Jags, Packers, and Steelers as well to take place in, of course, the opening weekend. Looking at, of course, the potential matchup it could be, I certainly wouldn't mind Eagles, Steelers, of course, a battle for the Keystone State in Brazil. Rob those Pennsylvania fans of having that matchup, but certainly a couple of teams that are of notice and of notoriety too. But is it absurd to approve the Brazilian crowd of the NFL fans will openly accept the Eagles with that first Friday NFL opener coming up in September?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea. I mean, it depends on how many of them watch the NFL and everything like that, and know what kind of team, what kind of area that Philly is. And again, there's some. I mean, there's good people that are there in Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong, but the fans are just rambunctious and just I won't even say it right. They're very passionate. Let's just go with that, passionate, with an asterisk on that as well. The
passionate with a capital ASS. Also,
yeah. there you go. So the crowd per se, I mean, I can't even say. I think they would. I'll give it my stamp of approval, just because, they might just be like, oh, the Eagles, it's kind of cool and everything like that. As for a team, I bet it's Washington, as the common man would like to say, because I feel like with Dan Quinn there now, and how the team's gonna look. Usually they put like kind of teams that aren't at the level of Philadelphia, even though Philadelphia did not look good this past, the last few games of the season.
Right.
So you could see, maybe a Commanders or, you said the Steelers. I wouldn't rule it out. I think it might be a divisional opponent, in my opinion, but I'd probably say stamp of approval, unless they know what the Eagles fans are about, and they know that it's a very controversial team in general, especially with all the new coaching staff that's been coming in now for Philadelphia. So I'll give it my stamp of approval. I don't know, but I'm just going to give it. So, Voldy, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, I think this will be a very interesting point to be brought up. Of course, looking at some of the numbers too, the league did make a count as well. Of course, with increased interest in recent years, at about 38 million Brazilian fans show a lot of interest in the NFL when it comes to obviously the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And of course, the league also does note that the stadium that's going to be playing host holds about 49,000, which is played host to World Cup matches and Olympic soccer as well. That will most likely be, of course, the venue of choice when it comes to the games in Brazil. As for a matchup too, I think it'll definitely be very interesting to see. I would say, if anybody, it's going to be Jacksonville. They're already used to playing half their season in London to begin with, so why not throw a trip to Brazil as well? That's going to be a whole different beast to conquer, because if you think about it, when the game does take place, so it'll technically be, because they're in the southern hemisphere, I think it'll be almost summer for them, if not, because it's going to be fall, winter. Yeah. So if anything, it might be a little bit more humid down there, because it'll kind of be like late summer into, or I should say, well, actually, it would be kind of late winter into spring almost, or kind of that change from spring to fall there a little bit. I should say spring into summer there. So it'll probably be a little bit warmer, a little bit more humid that time of year. So that's going to be a whole nother beast to conquer as well, for players trying to get ready for that at the same time. Are they going to be accepted? I think they will, simply by the fact that the NFL is going to be playing in Brazil, which is something that this will be the first time this is going to
yeah.
happen. So hopefully the NFL thinks this is going to go well and they can make it a much more regular thing, like now expanding into Germany at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get my stamp of approval. Just be interesting to see what kind of matchup we get with. If it's going to be a divisional, I feel like they'll probably stay away from the divisional games because those are already,
True.
hot button games to have to begin with, and you want to have at least as much fandom out of it at the same time. But you know what? For viewership's sake, wouldn't be opposed to having a divisional game thrown out there too.
Yeah, why not? As the Curve Doctor likes to say. All right, next one, Volde.
Well, post Bill Belichick in New England has swung towards the favor of one of his sons, that being Steve Belichick, who was recently hired as to be the defensive coordinator at the University of Washington. Of course, Belichick has spent the last 12 years as a defensive assistant for his dad's team, of course, that being the New England Patriots, including a defensive play caller for the last 5 years as well. Throw that all into the mix. Now going to be working with, of course, a former coach as well from New England, Jedd Fisch, who was hired as head coach for Washington as well. Now looking at it, 36 years old, going to be a defensive coordinator for the first time at a high-profile college that was in the mix of just barely missing out a national championship too. Steve Belichick as a defensive coordinator. Could we see the next up-and-coming Belichick coach? Will the Belichick be successful at the University of Washington, absurd or approved?
Well, Washington has had good teams these past few years, and obviously this past year being them going to the national championship game. But adding Steve Belichick, it'll be interesting because I think he's been in the NFL with the Patriots ever since he started coaching, with his dad and everything like that. So he's got experience in the NFL, and obviously college is not all that different, but I think he will. It's got my stamp of approval. And I don't necessarily, I think, the recruiting and, organizing the defense and things like that. It's like, well, we learned that from Bill, right? And obviously Bill Belichick's not going to be coaching this season unless it's like a coordinator, but I doubt it. It would be a coordinator position with Bill Belichick.
No.
So obviously, he has his dad to rely on. He's got connections. He's at Washington, who, again, I think will have some, good players still. And I think he could, shore up that defense. And since he has the experience with the NFL, I think is going to help him. So, I'll give it my stamp of approval. I think he will be successful there. Voldy, what do you got?
I think this is going to be a building process here for Belichick and obviously for Washington too. I've been seeing obviously any major part of that national championship running team, or at least to get to the national championship, anybody that had a play or was a major part of that team going into this season and throughout the season is gone for Washington. So it's going to be pretty much a complete overhaul. Sure. There's going to be some familiarity with the coaching staff. Obviously, Jedd Fisch was the quarterback coach at New England as well. Vinny Sunseri was actually a running backs coach. He's going to be coaching safeties and secondary, so also help on the defensive side there for Belichick too. It's going to be very interesting. Of course, now with Washington joining a new conference, I believe they're going to be in the Big Ten coming up here this year, or if not, I have no idea. The stakes of college conferences is completely out of left field now, and I have no idea who's going where and what's happening. They could be in the ACC for all I know. I think they're going to be in the Big Ten, I think, with Washington.
Yes,
I have no idea.
Right.
Somebody looked at it. Yeah, they're going to be in the Big Ten. So we're going to see Steve Belichick, up close and personal here, depending on how long he's going to be there. This one's probably going to be a labor of love, and probably not going to be easy to begin with, but I can certainly see success to be had, of course, with the principles that he's learned with his dad, obviously, in New England, translating that to the college level. A lot of former Belichick assistants have had pretty good success at the college ranks. The NFL ranks, kind of a mixed bag right now, probably leaning towards the side of not so good. I'm going to give it my stamp of approval. I'm going to give my stamp of approval here for old Steve. See if he can turn things around at UW.
Yeah, and I think, also with him being having that experience in the NFL and, if he got like a coordinator job in the NFL, I just don't think it would be that beneficial for him. But him going to college, I think will be. So I agree. All right. Next one, Voldy.
So do have to throw out, of course, we talked about the NBA All-Star Game coming up here next week. Well, we're going to be getting a little bit of state-of-the-art technology to be happening. Actually, looks like the All-Star Game, I was just looking here, to be taking place here. Okay, February 17th. So that's going to be coming up here, well, a couple weeks from now, but nonetheless here next weekend. There we go. We'll throw that out there. The NBA will actually be playing on glass. That's right. There's going to be an LED video court that will be installed in Lucas Oil Stadium. That'll be coming up here, of course, with the NBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis coming up, and that will have, of course, all the fun festivities of All-Star Weekend. Of course, the three-point contest, the dunk competition, and of course, that will also include the All-Star Game itself. So state-of-the-art LED court that will be taking place during the game and all the events that will take place with All-Star Weekend in the NBA. Is it absurd or approved? Will the LED court pave the way for the future when it comes to NBA courts?
I hope they did their research on this, because you don't want any accidents happening, that's for sure.
Nope.
But, Voldy, I'm literally looking at this video right now and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It looks pretty sweet. Never mind. Okay.
It's nuts.
It's kind
I watched it like 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool looking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean,
it hurts my brain. It hurts my brain watching it.
Right?
Like,
yeah,
what?
my brain, it hurts. I think it looks kind of cool. I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. The one thing that I really like what they did, the shooting matchup between Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu. I think I said it right.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I really like the way that they're doing that. That's not only get one of the best shooters in the NBA, but you also bring one of the best shooters, best players in the WNBA against each other. Yeah, let's go, And obviously they've been trading barbs back and forth, obviously jokingly and whatnot. But it'll be interesting with the LED lights. I really hope that they're doing their homework on this and hopefully the lights don't explode or something like that. Not like it like a bomb or something but just someone gets hurt from, sparks or something like that is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But I kind of like this. At first I was like, I don't know about this. I think it will pave the way. So it's got my stamp of approval. I would like to see if what kind of graphics and stuff that they can put together with it. I mean, just even looking at that video that I just showed you too, you can do so many things with it. So especially, I think there was one guy going to the basket and it was tracking his steps and whatnot and laying it. I was like, man, that's cool. I like that. It's got my stamp of approval. Before I get to that, our guy Nick Dahlhoff. God, I hope none of the players who play on that have epilepsy. That's another good point. That I didn't think of that. So shout out to Nick for thinking through that, because that's a good point. So maybe not as flashy, but I don't know. I kind of like it. Stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this will be very interesting to see how this can translate to the overall play. Because we've seen videos in the past, the one thing that comes to mind is finding a dead spot on the court, like Steph Curry literally just, dribbling the ball and he finds a dead spot where, the ball doesn't bounce as well. How's that going to translate to a glass court? I'm sure it's going to be very thick, plexiglass or whatever, but how's that going to be the difference from the courts they have right now to this court as well? And that's another thing, how it's going to play with, guys' eyesight, if the graphics are going to be bright enough to where it might blind somebody going back on defense or trying to go to the rim for a layup or whatever. How's that going to affect overall gameplay? But it's an all-star game too. There's a lot of flash, a lot of pomp and circumstance with that too. And I don't know if you've seen or not, Matt, with the excitement of Indianapolis hosting the all-star game, that they've installed a full-fledged basketball court in the airport or whatever. And just the memes of that court in the airport are just hilarious of why were you 15? You're sprinting to your gate or whatever, about to board because you dropped 35, 10, and 2 on somebody just trying to catch their flight to San Antonio or whatever. The memes are just gold, and I highly recommend anybody looking those all up. It's just hilarious. But I think this is definitely cool. The NBA does have some. Not going to say too often. This is a good idea right here. Just see, obviously we've seen the world of. The world kind of embraced technology as well. The NBA has been kind of on the cutting edge with a lot of that stuff too, but it probably won't be too much longer till we get like some Space Jam 2 type stuff with courts and everything too. Not saying that I've seen Space Jam 2. I'm not going to waste my time there, but there's a lot of weird, funky graphics and stuff like that, and just full technology-driven gameplay as well. It's got my stamp of approval though.
Like I said, make sure you do your homework on this. And obviously, I think Nick, again, made a great point. Hopefully no one has epilepsy, because especially with all the flashing lights and things like that. So we'll see what happens. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, an interesting comment, of course, we were talking about the Bay Area, Las Vegas, with Matt Fowler, who joined us on the show here this week. Well, Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman isn't exactly extending a warm welcome to the Oakland Athletics, who plan to build a new stadium in their city, talking about how the team's stadium plan transitioning from Oakland to Las Vegas before the stadium's built, and is not looking at the plan that they have in place as a one that makes good sense as well. She quoted as saying, "I personally think that the A's have got to figure out a way to stay in Oakland to make their dream come true." She also went further to say, of course, she was excited about the prospect of Major League Baseball in her city, but the A's, and of course, she didn't back off her statement that Oakland and the A's should try to make their relationship work, quote, in a perfect world. She also added should that fail, Las Vegas has shown that it is a spectacular market for the sports franchises. Of course, talking about with the addition of the Raiders, of course, the Las Vegas Aces, and of course, soon to be with the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, and now the prospect of baseball coming to Las Vegas. Of course, we know that the troubles that Oakland has had with their stadium, just not drawing enough attendance as well, and the ownership making the move to send the team to Las Vegas, but they really don't have a stadium right now. Of course, there is a minor league team in Vegas, but they have a plot of land that is being bought just off the strip, and that could make congestion, makes the site less attractive than being in the larger site north of Las Vegas as well. So it's definitely a lot of trying to make things work, but knowing that this is an extended time period as well. Do you think it's absurd or approved? Should the A's look into a solution of staying in the Bay Area until the Vegas stadium is open, or should they just go with the plan of just saying, we're going to play in Vegas at, the minor league stadium or whichever ballpark is going to be suitable for them in the time being?
What a cluster, you know what? I mean, honestly, this is just insane. The Vegas mayor obviously wanted, have them stay in the Bay Area for a little bit and, go from there. But, I mean, this whole thing is just insane in itself. I almost think that they should just find a solution in Oakland until they make the stadium. And then just for them just to come down to Vegas and play at a minor league place, I mean, it's just kind of like, it's underwhelming. Even though the team in general has been very underwhelming in itself. But like Matt said, too, I mean, he said, I don't really care. It's the A's, and, they obviously, have their ways of, messing things up and everything like that. So I think that they should, at this point, I'm kind of in the boat, find a solution to stay in Oakland until that new stadium's built, and then go over to Vegas, because obviously there's a lot of issues going on with how, the relationship of how to get this thing done and whatnot, and it seems like their ownership and stuff like that, I think we talked about it on the show before, but are just in shambles. So I think it's got my stamp of approval. Stay in the Bay Area until they figure something out, and obviously, pun intended here, but play ball with people. Stop being a bunch of idiots. Try to get this done and move on. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Well, the sad thing is right now, the lease ends with the Oakland Coliseum, the fifth oldest stadium in the major leagues right now, ends after the 2024 season. So the team has yet to secure a facility. So the stadium that they're going to plan on building isn't going to be open until, if my math serves me correct, 2028, I believe, is what it's going to be. So they have 3 seasons that they don't have a site that they're going to be playing at as of yet. That's where it currently stands with the ballpark situation. Now, with that being said, Vegas kind of Mayor Goodman, I should say, throwing out the possibility of like finding a way to stay in Oakland. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but the Coliseum isn't exactly suitable for baseball right now. Now, they could certainly go the route of playing somewhere in the interim in, I don't know, one of the facilities in Vegas. They've got, there's a minor league team there. You've got plenty of college fields that are there as well. UNLV's got a really nice facility over there too. There is certainly a lot that can be done there in that process. But is it going to be beneficial for the team? The Oakland A's, they've got some young guys coming up. They've had some promising players as of late. Tony Kemp, former Rochester honker. I remember watching him play in Rochester when he was playing for Vanderbilt, baseball university right there.
Wow.
Great guy. I've got his autograph and everything when he was just a college guy as well. Certainly would love to see him continue to promise his career right out and forward as well, even coming up through the Astros organization. Then he has kind of really blossomed with the A's as of late. Guys like that playing in Oakland, it's unfortunate because of the fact that they have to do so much more in order to do what somebody on, say like the Braves or the Yankees or, some other promising team that, on the East Coast has done. Oakland and the A's are kind of a forgotten franchise, which is unfortunate because every time they come to town, the A's just make the Twins look like a AAA club, which is unfortunate because the Twins do a great job of making bad teams look really good. But getting back to the point, I think it'd be good for the fans because obviously they kind of had their little bit of a send-off, the reverse protest, if you will, when they filled the stadium this year a few times just to protest and say, oh, nobody comes to Oakland A games anymore. And well, they filled that stadium to the very brim, almost to the point where the fire marshal had to come and say, hey, look, this place is condemned. We can't be having too many people show up. They got to figure something out. They really do. Find a way to stay in the Bay Area is going to be more about closure for the fans and for the team as well. Is it going to happen? Probably not, because the ownership's got their mind made up. Say, hey, look, we're moving to Vegas as quick as possible. We got to figure out what we're going to do. So, I mean, I think it's got my stamp of approval. I think Vegas kind of coming out and saying, like, hey, you guys need to figure something out because we're not going to be ready quite yet. We're not ready for you guys quite now. But it's got my stamp of approval for sure.
That's the problem. They don't have a plan. And basically they're saying, figure it out. Or you're not going to have anywhere where to play. So the saga continues. All right. Great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as per usual. And again, like we always do on this show, we cap things off with Shield shoutouts. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for some Shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who you shouting at tonight?
Well, sadly, we have to start off Shield shoutouts this week. It's been a sad couple of days here in the world of music, not only just music, but country music especially. The world lost a true titan in the world of country music, that being Tobykeith. Tobykeith has suffered, of course, from a long-standing battle with stomach cancer as well, and he ultimately lost his life earlier this week as well. Battling through it, trying to stay positive through it as well. Made a couple of appearances as of late, fighting through his health, but ultimately fell, and sadly his life came to pass earlier this week. And of course, a lot of good memories with Tobykeith. I remember one of his CDs we would blare in my mom's Suburban just relentlessly when it came out. 2004, I think it was, with Big Dog Unleashed, I think it was, the album or whatever. I can remember the cover and just playing that CD nonstop. So rest in peace to Toby Keith. Of course, the music always will live on forever. And I do got to give a big shout out to the Waz Daddy, and that being Nate Wasner, for helping me secure a couple of these sweet Smiles for Jake jerseys from the Granite City Lumberjacks. Of course, over the weekend, the Granite City Lumberjacks did play a couple of games for the Smiles for Jake movement as well. You want to find out more information. It's an organization, nonprofit organization that helps spread the word and, of course, the conversation about suicide prevention as well, and something that I definitely am definitely very proud to be a part of as well. From my last job working in radio, worked with the Smiles for Jake nonprofit group for a few events as well, just spreading the word on upcoming events, and then getting a chance to be a part of it as well with this team too. A great weekend that we had as well. Got to auction off these jerseys, some raffle baskets as well from the Lumberjacks family and friends. So in total, making a donation of $10,000 towards the Smiles for Jake movement. Of course, you can find them on Facebook, on social media, and go to smilesforjake.org as well to find out. But a big shout out to Nate Wasner while we were calling and broadcasting an 18-0 shutout for the Lumberjacks. Needed some help on bidding a couple of jerseys, ended up walking away with two of them. Spend a little money in the process, but ultimately it's for the kids, and big help from Nate Wasner on that as well. So that's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Well done, Shield. Well, Shield shoutouts.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, really like that jersey. Really nice.
Oh,
Obviously,
it's great.
those Granite City Lumberjacks do a fantastic job. Speaking of which, I did watch that Breaking Ice documentary, and all I got to say is this. Well done. Well done. Especially, our zoner favorites, as always. We have DJ, your brother.
Yes, sir.
Moser, our 2023 best guest. And Jimbo, of course. Jimbo as well. I saw a few cameos, especially at the end there. Well, it was awesome. I mean, honestly, it was very good. So, really enjoyed it. Shout out to our Granite City Lumberjacks. And,
Yes, sir.
All right, Voldy, before we get into the merch stuff and all that stuff, reminder, Super Bowl special, baby, on Sunday, 2 p.m., our 4th annual Super Bowl special. Here's what we got on the docket, all right?
Yes.
We have Eric Moser, our 2023 best guest. He's going to set things up for us on right away at 2 p.m., I think. And then after that, I believe we will be having our guy, Matt Fowler, who we just had on not too long ago, a couple, maybe even 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago, whatever it was. He will be on with us. And I am in talks with talking to our most absurd statement winner, Austin Hanley, Chiefs fan. Got to talk to him about the chances that these Chiefs had, and I'm interested to see what absurd statement will come out of his mouth. And I say that jokingly. So we will try to get him on as well. So that's what we got on the docket. We'll do some prop bet stuff, betting, all that whole thing. We'll give our predictions, and I do have something I want to address. I am going to address this whole Taylor Swift, Traviskelce, is there too much of it, things like that. I will address it, and I will give my full thoughts on it, and we will be giving our Super Bowl predictions as well. So be on the lookout for that. Tomorrow, there will be a document or a form that will be out, and you guys will need to fill out. You can have a chance to win what, Voldy?
You're going to win this hat right here. Yeah. Since it is America's game, we are giving away America's hat. Stars and Stripes, MinneZona Sports Live, Snapback Richardson 112 could be yours. If you guess the correct team, the correct score as well, you are going to get this bad boy, free and clear. Well, it won't be completely free. You'll, sacrifice a couple of minutes to fill out the Google form. But this hat is up for grabs coming up on Super Bowl Sunday right there for you.
And if you do have that hat, I think we can work out something with the camera.
We can work something
like that. We'll work something out. So make sure, be on the lookout for that tomorrow, and then you'll have up to kickoff to fill things out, and you can win that red, white, and blue hat as well. So we will have that ready for you before before Super Bowl Sunday. And then with that being said, make sure that we got a lot of merch. We got Sweatpants still available. We've got the quarter zips. These are going like hotcakes now. I've sold a couple now. So get those in as soon as possible. I'm out of some sizes now. So if you want one, get it done. Let us know. We can get that to you. And then we have the winter caps. Make sure you check those out. The tumblers as well. We got the shirts. We got the you guys know the prices already. We got the hats, the whole kit and caboodle, stickers. You know the deal there too. Make sure you check out W2 Performance with Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. And then thank you, National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. Great job as always. And then shout out to the victorious P.O.D. with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. Did a great job last week. And then shout out to TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., still doing great things over there with TLS Performance. And then make sure you guys check out. There will be a new episode. I believe it's on Thursdays now. New episodes of the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne, Myhrberg, and Omni Entertainment. So make sure that you guys check those guys out. All the movies that are coming out. And make sure you're in tune with that. We'll be talking with those guys very, very soon. So with that being said, Voldy, Super Bowl Sunday. I will see you Super Bowl Sunday. We will see the Zoners, the Super Bowl Sunday special. And before, I forgot to mention this. Yours truly will be at Studio A, where we first started the show at the Kerf Doctor's place. This is crazy. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to, maybe doing some different, depending on how things go, we'll make some things happen. But Voldy, where will you be?
So I will be boots on the ground like we've been talking about all show. Looking forward to doing the show in the back room, the coaches lounge, if you will, from Sports Arena East, Miller Buick GMC Arena, live with the Granite City Lumberjacks, and they're going to be having a little bit of a Super Bowl party, so we'll have some people kind of filing in, filing out. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. We'll have our 2023 best guest, Eric Moser, joining us live. We'll have his acceptance speech, all the fun stuff. Maybe we'll get a couple of pop-in guests to show up as well. I'm looking forward to it. Cannot wait for this Sunday. It's going to be big.
It's going to be fire. So we are looking forward to that. So without further ado, we will see you Sunday. But until then, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.